President Trump noticing, tweeting this morning this. So interesting to see progressive Democrat congresswomen who originally came from countries whose governments are a complete and total catastrophe, the worst, most corrupt and inept anywhere in the world, if they even have a functioning government at all, now loudly and viciously telling the people of the United States, the greatest and most powerful nation on earth, how our government is to be run. Why don't they go back and help fix the totally broken and crime-infested places from which they came? Then come back and show us how it is done. These places need your help badly. You can't leave fast enough. I'm sure that Nancy Pelosi would be very happy to quickly work out free travel arrangements. This tweet that you're just seeing now is clearly going to get, I think, a lot of discussion.
Someone's feeling very comedic today.
Yeah. One thing I was at, I call the squad the Instagram group, the hashtag squad goals and all that. It seems like a number of the things that they say are those memes that you see on Instagram, these somewhat like defiant and inspirational memes. This is real life. This isn't social media just having fun, trying to, rile people up. This is real life. The words you say have real life consequences. And I think that needs to be taken into consideration.
I think President Trump is making an important point because he's trying to say that the values that built this country, everything from, securing the border and being a nation of laws to, freedom of speech on college campuses, whatever issue you're talking about, a lot of times these are the very issues that the left is trying to obstruct. And he's drawing attention to that and saying, if you don't like what this country stands for, you're not going to change it and take away all these things that Americans value so much. Like, if you don't like it, leave and go set up camp somewhere else, but you're not going to destroy what we have fought so hard and so long to value.
That's a good point.
This is Fox and Friends reacting to what they've decided was the comedy show of the decade, which I guess is what happens when the only conservative comedians out there are Dennis Miller and Larry the Cable Guy. To be clear, we're talking about a tweet in which Trump refers to 4 American congresswomen, AOC, Ariana Presley, Rashida Tlaib, and Ilhan Omar, suggesting that they go back to the countries they came from. And obviously this all makes zero sense because, first of all, 3 of the 4 were born in the United States. Ocasio-Cortez is from the Bronx, Presley was born in Ohio, and Tlaib is from Detroit. He literally assumes that because they're not white, that they're not even citizens. That's how deep-seated his racism is. That's why it's fair to say he's a white nationalist. As for Ilhan Omar, she was a refugee from Somalia who moved to Minnesota and was elected by her district to represent them in the United States Congress. Whether you agree with every word they say or not even one, all of them have every right to call themselves Americans because they are. And none of them stayed silent in the face of Trump's glaring bigotry. Ariana Presley said, "This is what racism looks like, we are what democracy looks like, and we're not going anywhere except back to DC to fight for the families he marginalizes and vilifies every day." Ilhan Omar said, "As members of Congress, the only country we swear an oath to is the United States, which is why we're fighting to protect it from the worst, most corrupt, and inept president we've ever seen." Rashida Tlaib said, "I am fighting corruption in our country. I do it every day when I hold your administration accountable as a U.S. Congresswoman. Detroit taught me how to fight for the communities you continue to degrade and attack. Keep talking, you'll be out of the White House soon." And finally, AOC took to Twitter saying that the country I come from and the country we all swear to is the United States. Trump is angry because he doesn't believe in an America where I represent the people of New York's 14th district, where the people of Minnesota elected Ilhan Omar, where Rashida Tlaib fights for Michigan families, and where Ariana Presley fights for those in Boston. Trump's angry because he can't conceive of an America that includes us, but needs a frightened America to plunder. Trump won't accept a nation that sees healthcare as a right or education as a priority. And that worst of all, he can't accept that none of us fear him, that we will call his bluff and offer a positive vision for this country. But there is an insidious reasoning behind these attacks on these women in particular. He needs his supporters, the white, blue-collar workers that make up his base, to feel as though they have nothing in common with these women, with brown and black people. If he can stoke enough resentment, can divert attention to our differences with bad faith attacks, even if they're not even based in reality, then his supporters won't have the chance to focus on their good ideas. Trump knows these women are dangerous because if his base had the chance to hear in good faith what they represent, like healthcare for every American, like taxing millionaires and billionaires, like not letting the planet rot so our kids can have a decent life, then they would clearly support them. Trump needs to attack these women because that's his only defense against their good ideas. Even if they're outright lies, even if he's claiming that a woman born in Brooklyn isn't American, it's not about the truth. The cruelty is the point. And as if we ever need more examples of hypocrisy, Trump himself is the son of a Scottish immigrant and the husband of a Slovenian immigrant. Now, I wonder what the difference between those immigrants and the people he attacks is. So let's call Trump's attack exactly what it is: pure, unadulterated racism and white nationalism. Granted, this should come as no surprise. From the days of suggesting that the Central Park Five were guilty even after they were exonerated by DNA evidence, to starting the birtherism movement against our first black president, to predicating the launch of his presidential campaign on banning Muslims from entering the United States and calling Mexicans drug dealers and rapists, Donald Trump's entire life is steeped in racism. It's the way his career began and the way it'll end, and no amount of public shaming is going to change the way a virulent, racist 72-year-old operates. Our job is to make sure that that end comes sooner rather than later.